My name is Sophia, and the betrayal I experienced completely changed my perspective on love and commitment. My marriage with David was like a perfect painting in the eyes of others. He was a successful, wealthy, and respected man, while I was his elegant wife, supporting him in his endeavors. The shining facade concealed an emptiness that grew larger every day, an emptiness that neither money nor status could fill. No matter how hard I tried to convince myself that I was happy, there was an inner voice whispering dissatisfaction and the search for something more. It was during one of my visits to the local NGO that I met Adam. He was the opposite of David in many ways, a simple, hardworking man passionate about social causes. His eyes sparkled with the flame of justice, and his deep understanding of the world's issues captivated me in a way David never could. Adam represented an authenticity and emotional connection I longed for but had lost long ago. Our meetings started innocently enough, discussing charity projects and sharing views on social issues. But as time passed, our conversations became more personal and intimate. He was the attentive listener to my anxieties and dreams, something I couldn't share with David without feeling judged or uninterested. The betrayal happened on an autumn night when Adam and I met at a charity dinner. The romantic atmosphere and emotional closeness we had shared for so long were irresistible. The sparks of attraction we had ignored for so long finally ignited, and in a moment of weakness, we succumbed to the forbidden passion that simmered between us. The kiss was like an explosion of repressed emotions, a moment of ecstasy that made me feel alive in a way I hadn't experienced for a long time. The feeling of having found something genuine and true amidst what seemed like a life of illusions was intoxicating. But soon after came the weight of guilt and betrayal, a suffocating sensation that left me paralyzed, facing the brutal reality of what we had done. The discovery came days later, in a moment of tense silence in our mansion. David, with a serious and determined expression, confronted me with the incriminating messages on my phone. The impact of his words and the evidence of the betrayals were like a direct blow to my chest, cutting me deeper than any physical knife could. His face, once so loving and trusting in me, now reflected shock and disbelief, as if his world had crumbled before his eyes. The tears he held back were like small fragments of his broken heart, reflecting the pain I had caused. The ensuing confrontation was a turbulent mix of emotions. I felt his anger pulsing in the air, mixed with the sadness and disappointment he couldn't hide. His cutting words struck my soul, making me face the brutal reality of what I had done and the magnitude of the damage I had caused. David, despite all the pain, offered me forgiveness. He reached out, offering a second chance for us to start anew. But the shadow of betrayal hung over us like an insurmountable barrier, an emotional scar that couldn't be erased with words of remorse. The betrayal not only undermined David's trust in me but also forced me to confront my own values and choices. I found myself at a crossroads, having to deal with the devastating consequences of my actions and decide what was truly important to me, the financial stability and material comfort provided by David, or the emotional authenticity and genuine connection I found with Adam. The story of Sophia, David, and Adam is a painful reminder of how betrayals can shake not only a marriage but also the very foundations of who we are and what we value in life. It's a testament to the power of choices and the consequences we face when we betray not only others but also ourselves. I hope you enjoyed our first story. Before we move on to the second story, please leave your like, comment, and subscribe to the channel to continue creating more content for you. Let's go. My name is Laura, and my life seemed like a fairy tale until a dark cloud called suspicion started to loom over my head. Daniel, my husband, had always been a hardworking and caring man. His dedication to the family was unquestionable, and I admired him for that. However, his connection with his secretary at work, Emma, began to raise concerns in me that I tried to ignore. The suspicions started as small whispers of uncertainty. Text messages on his phone that he quickly deleted when I approached, late meetings at the office that became more frequent, and the way he always mentioned how competent and helpful Emma was. I tried to convince myself that it was just professionalism, but something inside me screamed that there was something more. I decided to discreetly investigate, just to calm my restless mind. I went to Daniel's office on a day when he was in a meeting and, with the excuse of delivering a document, gained access to his room. While searching for the document, my eyes landed on a crumpled paper on the desk, and that's when I saw the note in which he and Emma were arranging a dinner for that night at one of the city's most romantic restaurants. My heart raced, and a wave of emotions hit me. The feeling of betrayal and disappointment mixed, creating a tight knot in my throat. The image of that note became a constant weight on my mind, fueling my suspicions and undermining the trust one had in Daniel. I went back home that day with a sense of anguish that I couldn't shake off. Every detail of that note haunted me, making me question what was really going on between my husband and his secretary. I wanted to believe it was just a work meeting, but the voice of suspicion inside me refused to be silenced. And so, I began to live in a state of constant alertness, watching every move of Daniel with wary eyes, trying to decipher if there was something more behind the facade of normalcy he tried to maintain. The pain I felt in that moment was overwhelming. My heart felt like it was being squeezed by an invisible hand, and all my suspicions were confirmed by that note. It wasn't just a professional connection between them, it was something much more intimate, something I could never have imagined my husband capable of. I went back home in a mix of anger, sadness, and confusion. I spent the night awake, questioning everything I thought I knew about the man I had shared my dreams and life with. The betrayal was a knife plunged into my heart, a wound that wouldn't stop bleeding. The next day, when Daniel came home, I couldn't hide my distress. He immediately noticed that something was wrong, but I didn't have the courage to confront him at that moment. I decided to wait, gather my strength, and decide how to approach the situation in the best possible way. But Daniel's betrayal had already left deep marks on our relationship. Every glance, every word, was now laden with the shadow of infidelity. I knew I would have to face this betrayal head-on, but I also feared what it would mean for the future of our marriage and our family. The broken trust was like a wound that would never fully heal, and I was about to find out how far I would go to restore truth and honesty in our relationship. In the following days, every moment was an internal battle. I wondered if I could forgive him, if we could rebuild what had been destroyed by the betrayal. Every time I looked at Daniel, I saw the man I married, but I also saw the face of the person who had hurt me deeply. Weeks passed, and the tension between us only grew. We avoided talking about the issue, but the electricity in the air was palpable. I desperately wanted to believe that everything could return to normal, that we could overcome this obstacle together, but there was a voice inside me that kept questioning whether it was possible to trust again someone who had disappointed me so deeply. One day, I finally made the decision to confront him. I could no longer live in the shadow of uncertainty, of distrust. I talked about the note, about my suspicions, about how that had changed everything between us. Daniel was silent for a moment, and then the words began to come out in a mix of apologies and justifications. But nothing he said could erase the pain I felt. The broken trust was an abyss between us, and I didn't know if we had the strength to cross it together. Did you enjoy our second story? Before we move on to the next narrative, I would like to ask you to leave your like, comment, and subscribe to the channel so that we can continue producing more content for you. Are you ready to get involved in another story full of drama and emotion? Let's go! I am Alice, and I have decided it's time to tell the story that suffocates me, keeping me awake at night, losing myself in a maze of hurt and betrayal. My life with Daniel was like a perfect painting, with each stroke representing moments of happiness and harmony. He was my safe haven, the man who made me feel complete. Every day with him was a gift that I cherished more than words could express. Daniel brought Jake into our lives as an unexpected gift. My son-in-law was like a breath of fresh air in our home, with his gentle manner and captivating smile. I watched him grow as if he were my own son, a bright addition to our family. Jake, with his bright green eyes, had the ability to light up even the darkest days. His infectious energy filled every corner of our home, turning it into a place of laughter and affection. The love I felt for him was pure and genuine, or so I believed. It was on a sunny afternoon, while Daniel was at work, that everything changed. Jake and I were alone at home, enjoying the tranquility of the day. What started as an innocent conversation gradually turned into something deeper. His words, laden with hidden meaning, echoed in my mind, awakening feelings I tried to suppress. His green eyes met mine, and in that moment, the world around us vanished, leaving only palpable tension between us. I knew something was wrong, but my heart ignored the signs of danger, plunging into the torrent of emotions that engulfed me. The passion that grew between us was like a blazing flame, impossible to ignore. Every touch, every sigh, was a silent confession of our forbidden desire. We tried to resist, but the attraction was overwhelming, and we succumbed to what our hearts longed for. The stolen moments became an addictive drug, a temporary escape from the reality crumbling around us. Guilt infiltrated every moment of pleasure, like a shadow obscuring the sunlight. It was as if I were dancing on the edge of an abyss, aware of the imminent danger but unable to stop the emotional whirlwind that engulfed me. The feeling of betraying Daniel's trust weighed heavily on my chest, constantly reminding me of the sacred vows we made to each other at the altar, promises that now seemed so distant and fragile. The voice of reason tried to make itself heard, warning me of the moral boundaries I was crossing, but in those brief moments of ecstasy, rationality was a faint voice in the back of my mind, drowned out by the burning desire consuming us. Betrayal began to corrode my heart, even as I struggled to keep up appearances. Every glance from Daniel turned into a spear of accusation, piercing deep into my conscience, every unspoken word a painful echo of what I had done. The weight of my guilt was like an anchor, dragging me into the depths of an abyss of remorse and regret, where darkness was palpable and loneliness a constant companion. I found myself trapped in an endless cycle of remorse and self-punishment, constantly questioning how I could succumb to the forbidden impulses that led us down this tortuous path. Yet, even now, as I recall those moments of weakness, I cannot deny the intensity of what we shared, the depth of our mistake. It's like a scar on the soul, an indelible mark of the price we paid for giving in to forbidden passion. Every memory is like a sharp knife, cutting deep into my conscience, but at the same time, there is a strange beauty in the intensity of the feelings we experienced, a flame that burned so intensely that it left deep marks on our being. This is my confession, a silent scream echoing through the empty walls of my soul, a testimony of the betrayal that not only destroyed my marriage but also my own essence. It's a painful reminder that the choices we make have consequences, and that the price of unrestrained passion can be the irreparable loss of what we value most. Thank you for watching and engaging with this profound story. If you identified with it or learned something valuable, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Leave your comment sharing your reflections and experiences. And if you enjoyed the video and believe in the importance of addressing complex topics like this, don't hesitate to leave your like.